Okay, so
Okay. Good start. Used a capital letter.
every time that we try to define one of these systems, we end up clashing to varying degrees, sometimes very little, sometimes quite a lot, over a dictionary and a workflow.
Yeah.
And I want to say that a special case of workflow is a project plan.
Which is temporal and transient,
And
therefore.
a special case of project plan is something like next steps.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So the issues being, what are the things that we're talking about? What do they mean?
Yeah.
What are their relationships with each other? The workflow being like, so you have a thing defined in a dictionary that behaves in a certain way defined in a dictionary that then connects to this other thing. So the
Right.
workflow would be
That's
considered.
that's the part I think where we need more work on it. Well, no, we also need to work on dictionary. We're not very good at project planning.
I don't think it matters. We're here. We got these issues. We've done pretty good, I think, given
I
all
think so as well.
things.
Given the
So
code space.
yeah, right. And the thing is that we've always known that we wanted the Dreamcatcher because of we knew there was an onslaught coming, which is to say managing teams of people, especially when money starts to flow, particularly when crazy money starts to flow. Like, I mean, what did we ride from? Like, the craziest run I think for us was from definitely from 150 million to 250 million in market cap. That happened in way too quick a time.
Yeah, it was
And
poison. It was
everyone
poison. We
shat
ended up with.
themselves.
I've still got a pair of socks with Intrepid written on them.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
wasting money, and yet your capital raise, you're still sitting on the cap raise from like the previous valuation. So you expect it to act like a $250 million company with like $50 million company boots, and you're like, don't.
It's crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's
Anyway,
crazy.
fun times, whatever. But
Yeah. Well, not particularly fun. Well, yeah.
I I had a blast.
Well, call out to um, our joint mentor, who are not named. He shall not be named. I'm going to write on this whiteboard as well. Because. Oh. Give me 2 seconds. Why is this not working?
I have no idea.
This always works. This always works. This is.
Well, obviously not.
Well, no, okay. I might need to revise what always means. Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, right. It's actually telling me to clear my desk from shit. Okay, fair enough. All right, okay, I'm in. I'm just writing this down for my own benefit.
I'm gonna have to go in 30 minutes.
All right, okay. I'm gonna stop fucking around with that then.
All right. So we can always seem to sort of kind of define a dictionary. If we really sat down and did it, we could.
Yeah.
And the trouble seems to be keeping it updated,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So the reckoner, if I just get rid of this, yeah. As a block diagram, the reckoner looks like everything in. So that's emails, WhatsApps, direct notes, code commits, everything comes into it.
Yeah.
And then this processing engine proceeds to reconcile everything that's come in with the tree of knowledge that existed before. So, for example, the dictionary can be represented as a tree.
Yeah.
And if you say in a WhatsApp, oh, I made a reckoner, it's like, oh, hang on, the reckoner's this thing. Oh, wait, he said that. He told me that the reckoner is a system designed to pick fruit, but that doesn't reconcile with this other thing, conflict.
Right.
Right. Ooh. A code commit comes in.
Like
someone makes a. I don't think so, because it's an artifact. It's a thing that got made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess you could think of it as there'd be a class of stuck that could deal with these kinds of conflicts, but there's not really, the first thing you could do is say it was, say, Ben, and he said a WhatsApp message, or he made a code commit that had something in the comments that used a word that was in the dictionary that didn't match. We could theoretically make a pull request bot that detected conflicts with the dictionary and wouldn't let you merge into master until you'd settled with the reckoner, because it's like, whoa, you just introduced divergence from right. So that's one example of how it works in terms of a dictionary. It just makes sure that the definitions are the same. It should be able to, with all these inputs, it should be able to suggest to you things that are missing from the dictionary and suggest entries, because it's like, well, I've heard this word and I've seen this definition. You haven't sort of ordained it to be in the dictionary, but it should be, so that it'll build the dictionary automatically and it will keep you in check with the dictionary whenever you go.
It may necessarily say there's a conflict. So, perfect example. You and I had a different idea of what reckoning meant.
Right.
So this process here can show that actually what I created a bot that was reckoning, and that bot, even though it was the reckoner, was not what was previously thought about and agreed, and would throw up conflict. And that would say, well, yeah, okay, fair one. I'm not actually talking about a reckoner, I'm talking about a commissioner. And we can deconflict.
Now that seems trivial for just two people, but as soon as you got 3 or 300, right? As soon as this number of arrows goes from 4 to 4,000, that's a fucking problem, right? And then you also get the inverse, which is someone new wants to find something in the dictionary, or HAL that was set up to be the steward of this particular project needs to look something up in the dictionary, where does he even go? Right? And so the project dictionary...
If Dave and Hal don't actually understand what they're talking about in terms of definitions, you're going to get hallucinations. Okay.
Right. Well, you're going to get dissonance. Dave is going to think one thing, Hal's going to think another. Yeah. And so to scale a project effectively, this dictionary can never be a static thing because it takes too much effort. It drifts too quickly. It drifts on a daily basis. To pull everyone into line about it is too hard. You need to be chatting with Hal and have little tiny inserts come in and be like, you're like, hey, what's the weather today? And it's like, oh, it's a breezy 22. And there was a conflict with something you were saying yesterday about Reckoner. It sort of like nudges you into line. When you submit a YouTube clip and it is transcribed, the reckoner comes in and goes, oh, there was a issue here, which do you mean, this thing or that thing?
This is, so if I understand what you're saying, and apologies, I didn't get what you were saying last time we were talking about reckoner. This is about coherence.
Yeah. Reckoning, where are you? Where do you reckon we are?
Right.
And so I took the name from Dead Reckoning, which is, I'm not teaching you anything new there, but the process of
maritime. No, I'm all over maritime naval terms.
Yeah. So a reckoning system. See, we've got all these tools. We've now got AI, and yet at times I felt more lost than ever. So without a reckoning system, you can't really know where you are in the dreamscape because there's too much drift. Even between just us two, there's drift. Definitions drift. And so this type of system is required to keep project members on track with the project dictionary, where the project dictionary can be reconciled with a wider, broader dictionary. But it basically makes sure everyone keeps speaking the same language and calls everyone up on it.
This is exactly what we were trying to do manually back with way back when we were looking at a software-enabled company.
Yeah.
We start dictionary.
We know that this is important, but what we couldn't do is keep it updated. And then when it grows to about 20 terms, you kind of lose track of it because even you don't really know.
Yeah, exactly. Even between the two of us, I generate a new concept and immediately want to apply a name to it. Now, how close is that concept to a similar concept? Do we need to, for example, do one of two things? Do we need to update the dictionary entry for the concept that is already defined?
Yeah. And so you could plead with the reckoner to move around some terms based on a set of rules that everyone had agreed to, because you're like, I came up with this new concept. It's too close to this other one, but I need a little bit of I need the existing term to be moved in vector space effectively a little bit so that this other term doesn't get confused with it. So you could...
Sorry.
You could trigger organization-wide updates without consensus from the other members if you met the rules.
Right.
So they could come in from anywhere. They could come in from anywhere.
Yeah. Is this a matter of forking and merging?
Maybe. I mean, if you've got a fork in your dictionary, I don't know how we're going to deal with that. It's sort of like that's a different kind of problem. If you can't agree as a team what your definitions are, then that's a...
Yeah, but the dictionary is the source of truth. And so if you're coming in with commits or texts or emails or whatever,
right,
in this messy area, if there's a dissonance, then the reckoner should be able to say, hold a second, I'm not sure you understand what X means.
Right, right.
But the second thing is, it might be that there is a new concept.
Yeah.
We don't know whether it's a new concept, if it's a completely separate one, a new dictionary entry, or whether actually you're looking for a refinement of what's already in a dictionary entry.
And so, for example, when you spend a couple of days working and you've come up with like half a dozen new concepts, and then I start talking to you, I can actually look at the change log of the dictionary and see what new terms have been put in first, and I'm like, oh, yep, that sounds about right. Sounds not right. And if once we get the next 10 people working with us, it's very useful to be able to sit back and just look at the dictionary change and be like, how's the research group going? Oh, well, they seem to, they've made a bunch of new terms. I better call someone up on that because those terms sound suspicious to me.
Yeah, but if the reckoner is saying that you've got a whole bunch of new terms here, is that a good thing or a bad thing? But it's certainly an interesting thing, right?
It's interesting. And then you can also see what areas different people are working in. If they were, you could see hits on the dictionary as well, like a heat map on the dictionary where just because you didn't change anything doesn't mean that the reckoner didn't detect topic discussion on a particular area within the map.
Right. Right, but the this would give a very high value input into HAL, because HAL doesn't know the difference between a dog and a cat and the devil, right?
Well, he does.
He has no idea.
He does.
Well, yeah, no, but there's no internal concept of.
He doesn't know what a stuck is. He doesn't know what a stuck is. Yeah. He thinks a goal could be any of the other terms. So yeah,
exactly. So if I create a new dictionary item, a concept that I'm talking about as a jib that's never been defined, and then I talk to Hal about jib, he's going to hallucinate. He's going to try his best.
Right. So that's one half of the equation. Okay, that's the dictionary side. The other side.
Before we move on, I agree with reckoning the dictionary, understanding the workflow. The project plan and next steps seems ephemeral.
I was just about to start on this area, so let's dive into that. There's several different ways that you can apply a workflow. I could use a workflow to describe the artifact protocol, namely how do chains communicate with each other, what are the rules around that, what are the edge cases. So I could list that out as natural language. Like I could list it as like invariants or rules that I want to always be true. And then also processes could be listed step by step with a description of what's happening at each process. I would have to use terms defined in the dictionary to talk about things that are happening here. I should be able to define groups of processes and give them a name in the dictionary and then refer to them as just one box. So I can nest processes arbitrarily.
Seems reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if I can do that, I then can instruct HAL to execute this process using only the natural language descriptions that are given in each piece. Right. And so a pertinent example would be the how the commissioner works and how the stuck loop works could be described using very simple workflow blocks in natural language, and then a scenario of how a user might use it and the commissioner might use it and how we might interact can be proposed and then executed with each step being checked for its invariance, so all the rules of the system being upheld, and then the outputs being synthesized and then passed on to the next stage, so that as a human, you can very quickly have multiple scenarios run where all you've done is define them in natural language, and then, half a dozen executions kicked off and your attention was drawn to places where invariants were not met or edges were found. So it becomes, in a sense, a protocol design suite, but it focuses on the blocks being defined in natural language only and the effect of them operating being interpreted by the AI. Now, if it gets it wrong, that's interesting because it means that you probably defined it insufficiently. And so what you end up doing is producing a system specification, not unlike a universal modeling language diagram, or something like that, but it's of high quality natural language because an AI was able to interpret it.
Yeah, just a note to self for this recording for me. UML is actually pretty much what you just described there, right?
Right. But I don't want to. The thing with UML and the thing with like state charts and all that is, I feel like they're built for humans, whereas with natural language we should start simple and see if we can actually build up to something sophisticated like UML.
Well, on the bot side, leave UML to one side. That was just a thought. So when I listen to this recording again, I'll have a think. But and this is a relatively trivial point, but we need a way of insisting in each of these points what is a real thing, because if there's just pure NL, we get Chinese whispers between these blocks.
What's an example? I don't understand.
So let's say this block says I want to book a holiday. This block says, okay, so here's the flight. This block says flight is to do with airplanes. And it's like, okay, airplanes, an example of an airplane is a Cessna 172. It can hallucinate unless you actually get the, if you insist on what is, I guess, what is a dictionary. Is that a thing?
What, dude? I got nothing from that. What are you? Tell me what you said. I don't.
Right. So, well, Chinese whispers, right?
Yep.
If you have a flow which is only under natural language,
yep.
Even if you had humans with their superior processing power than LMs right now, you would get degradation of the signal between each step.
What's an example?
If you were to get well, it's a human example, and then there's a computer example. If you were to get a bunch of people around, half a dozen people, and get them to listen to a 5-minute story about some piece of gossip, and not take any notes, and then talk to the next person about the same piece of gossip, when you get round to the last person, what actually is understood will be completely wildly different from the first part. So there is degradation. I guess what I'm saying is there's degradation if we only have NL between a process here, then there's degradation of signal. There's always
still don't. How does that relate to what's happening here? Like, what's
What's
an
happening
example?
here is, I'll go into a computer example. If you were to put in anything that is more complex than just a straight instruction, let's talk about gossip. Okay, so and so has been shagging, this person. This next step will have interpreted this piece of NL inside of NL. And it's like, oh, okay, so maybe they're not shagging them, maybe it's a shaggy dog. Then this part will have a decreasing level of information about, okay, so we're talking about dogs now. Okay, so here's a list of dogs. So the point being, we need a founded set of axioms and definitions in order for this to work, because otherwise it's going to go haywire pretty quickly.
It's not when I say natural language, it's not just any old sloppy description. It is highly refined. The purpose of it being a reckoner is the fact that it is used to detect when things go astray, and then it reconciles that to say, how could that have been avoided? Do we need an extra test? Should the definition have been updated? Was the dictionary wrong? And so the idea of all this ingestion over here is that it also reconciles not just definitions, but also when I talk about a step in a process, like when I'm talking about, for example, how Interbit works on the inside, it should be able to look at that, my snippet of speech, and determine whether or not the current model actually encapsulates what I just said about that subsection of the system.
Right.
And if I don't, if it doesn't, then it's either like, well, either I just gave it new information and it can extend to something that wasn't previously defined, or I'm in error and there's a conflict. And so the reasoning, it would loop on each point to try and define it in such a way that it covers all of the use cases it's expected to.
That would be awesome if we could write that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to me to be very complicated.
The complication is in making it simple enough. Okay, so bear with me on this one. But if we were to,
I'm sorry, I actually don't have time to bear with you on this one.
Oh, okay, all right, fair enough.
I have to go in 7 minutes.
Yeah. 7 minutes. Is there anything you want to wind up on?
Yes, I would like to wind up on the fact that a project plan is a workflow that you only intend to execute once.
Yep.
And the next
and it's scaffolding. Yeah.
The next steps, well, I wouldn't say ephemeral because it could run for years, but it's the fact there's a definition, the difference between a system designed to repeat and a system designed to execute once.
Yeah, I will not argue the toss, but there's a cathedral in Barcelona that after 150 years has just finally taken down the scaffolding. I still say that 150 years was a project plan.
Yeah. Well, but it wasn't a loop. It didn't repeat. They didn't make more than one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can talk about your next steps in your project plan in the same tools or same tool suite, the same workbench as you would design a protocol in, because it's just connected chains of natural language being.
So again, you're looking at dissonance.
Yeah. So people come in and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do this other thing," and you're like, "Well, hang on, no, like the plan says this, you just said this. What the fluff, right?" Like,
it feels like there's two bots here around that, but they're doing the same kind of job. But I do get what you're saying about the project.
Yeah,
Well,
So
the common goal is dissonance. It's like,
yeah,
we want to build a cathedral and you've bought a yacht. What the
yeah,
fuck?
and degradation is what the system is designed to fight against. Degradation means your definitions weren't tight enough. Some tests at some point weren't tight enough. The fact that it's all done in natural language does not preclude you from having a absolute infallible set of definitions that can only be interpreted one way, right? But
well, in fact, it should help, because people are shit at definitions.
right
Yeah.
now, the thing I want to end with is that if the commissioner comes in, and we're so far we've only talked about using the commissioner to handle projects that we are familiar with and know the process, know the design.
Yeah.
But a completely new type of thing, which I expect we will start to see more and more of.
Yeah.
If the commissioner is used,
pennies just dropped, of course. Sorry, go on.
What were you thinking?
No, because if you have a blank sheet of paper, how do you stop people just going off on a romps of their own?
That's right. There's no. That's right. That's right. That's right. The reckoner keeps everyone in one space. The problem we're seeing with these AI projects is that they drift wildly because AI can do anything and say anything. And so, how do you hold everyone on the same page? What is the page? And
that makes sense.
And it moves too fast. I mean, look at the rate of change just in the number of LLMs published. We can't keep up using. We never could keep up with our conventional methods. We basically used force and firing to hold everyone on the path. But now that things move too quickly, we just can't. It'll be a nightmare. And so,
so if you have a commissioner, you need a reckoner.
If you have a commissioner that's going to do, yeah. So what you'd do is you'd use the commissioner to sort of seed the reckoner, and then the reckoner is how we keep everyone on track, because you're like, this is the plan. If you want to change the plan, you need to reconcile. Like someone's like, this is my
but also
my pet fucking hate, right? Yeah, someone comes in here and they go, hey, I've got this great idea. And you're like, look, motherfucker, the fact that you don't know all this other stuff makes it easy for you to think that that's a great idea. But if you have to...
It might be a great idea.
It might be. But it needs to be reconciled against all the previous conditions that we've come to understand. And that's the purpose of the reckoner.
And then the dictionary is then used by Hal, and the commissioner is just dealing with the kind of top level interaction. And so the commissioner, who's capable of changing a CRM for waste disposal into a CRM for holidays, if they personally hallucinate, are always kept in step by the reckoner.
Yeah, the reckoner holds everyone to what was previously said and agreed to, and it watches all the information ingestion.
And then you get something from Hal that can be relied on.
Right, because
Hal
if you want
is just ingesting what is really now high quality information. So you've got humans, the interaction, the whole Mandelbrot set thing.
Blah, 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 blah. Noise, right?
Yeah, and then you've got something that is saying, be consistent.
Correct. That is the message of the reckoner.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is. Just be internally consistent. And then that consistency is put out to the how, and the how is the thing that delivers the service. Yeah, I think you're right. That's really, really helpful.
Okay, and then because this is not the coolest part. The coolest...
Cool, though.
I know. But the coolest part... So yes, the reckoner has this one statement that basically says, be consistent, because otherwise, without it, you are guaranteed to be inconsistent.
Well, you've got chaos.
Yeah. And we can't handle that at the speed that we want to move at. So we need this model to just holding the dictionary down would be one win, a big win. Holding the project plan down and holding the protocol design down would be huge wins to be able to keep that steady. But what's of particular use is that if I have a protocol that's defined like this, where a protocol could be as simple as a sign up loop or a way to pull data in from this system and then contact this API and then do this other thing, right? It could be anything
Stuff
like
happens.
that. Yeah. If I've sketched it out in this natural language system and it's been reconciled, like it's been tested and scenarios have been run and lots of different people have suggested problems and ideas, and I've all been reconciled down to have a design that no one can find a fault with. You can then use that to carve off pieces and just go build isolated modules.
Yeah, of course you can.
So instead of trying to build the whole fuzzy thing,
right? Because you're just defining, what everyone else thinks. This is like, what's the kind of SaaS kind of thing, isn't it? What's it called? Service-oriented architecture, SOA.
Yeah. But the fact that you can make this little module, now the key point or the exciting point that I want to drive at here is that little module would have been built documentation first. And so once you implement it in, say, Rust or Python, you can then test back with the natural language specification to say, does it do the things that the spec said? The spec says it does this.
Doesn't it actually make it relevant what the implementation is? Because actually what you're doing is, if you've got a strong enough definition here, which the reckoner is self-consistent, it doesn't matter what it's written in.
Yes, the language doesn't matter.
You could write it on the fly. Right.
Yeah, and so the reason I was thinking about this is how to make implementations of the same protocol in different languages. And so with this system, you can do that. And whenever anyone changes something in this instance, you can check whether it still matches or any changes.
Language, and then in natural language, here saying this is meant to do this, and back to the dictionary, good reckoner goes up.
And so,
no, you're not
a good example of where this problem is a big deal is like in the IPFS teams or the libp2p teams, they are trying to implement the libp2p multi-protocol network stack in multiple languages across multiple devices. And they sort of have this definition going, but it's not AI powered. Whereas if you
manual.
And so what happens is you've got the JavaScript team off here will be like, holy shit, there's this problem. That'll bubble up, the specs will get updated, and then it will push back down to the Go team. And so it's sort of painful.
It's incredibly painful, actually. You've only got a couple of minutes left. I'll summarize this. Herding cats.
Yeah.
How do you herd cats?
Right. But it's the natural language aspect that's the key. It allows you to do this ingestion checking, and you can keep everyone on track ambiently without it requiring the discipline that everyone lacks.
Yeah.
And so, my final point, if I may.
Yeah.
The purpose of this whole system is to be able to define the Dreamcatcher system, which is designed to repeat over and over, in this model, means that we can determine, okay, this module is called the blah blah blah, it's this NFT, it has this image on it, it has this
Right.
much money against it, it feeds into this higher context. So anyone making that module, if they got an issue with the spec, they need to come and talk to the reckoner to reconcile this issue.
Hmm.
And so what it means is that we can give the Dreamcatcher almost a sense of self-awareness where when it fails to do something because it's not finished, it can then talk about its plan for being finished and what it needs and why it needs it. So if you make a stuck that can't be fulfilled because of some missing piece, like I want to go offline, and it's like, well, sorry, I need this piece and this piece to be able to run offline. Do you want to pay for it?
Mm. I agree. That is a nice model. I have no fucking idea how to build it.
I do. I think I can do it. I got to do the HAL first, and then you and I will do the commissioner. But this thing can save me so much time, even just designing protocols. This thing will save me time. But when I want to hire extra help and attract funding for protocols, this thing is the project plan, because we're like
the efficiency around it. The thing that springs to mind is now NASA went from sniffing the air to landing on the moon in 8.5 years, but it took 2.5% of GDP of the US to do so. Now, how the fuck did they manage to do that and not kill anyone? Well, kill a couple of people, but on that early mistake with auction.
Yeah.
They did pretty well. They had systems like this, which are systems in order to enforce coherence.
Yeah.
And that consistency. So I think you got something really nice here.
Because it always bothered me that if each one of these modules was an NFT, how do we take in the feedback from the people trying to build it? How do we show the higher level plan without just an onerous
off-piste.
Right, yeah. Just without an onerous amount of effort to keep the plan updated. You know, that's almost like a full-blown job to be the project planner of the project, where your job is simply to curate and reconcile the list.
Yeah. And we've also always had a problem with how to figure out how to get attribution to project planners.
Maybe the answer is maybe the answer is we don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Right, you need to go. Just before you do, I'm going to keep on working. Sorry?
You could discover attribution to project planning by looking at the changes that were made to the workflow inside the reckoner.
Oh, yeah. You could, because you've got state change.
Yeah, and then the reckoner can also have stucks. Like you can have pieces where you don't know as well. So yeah, there's a lot of options there, I think.
Well, I don't want to keep you because also I need to get to bed. It's like 4 a.m. here.
Yeah, mate.
I'm on for roughly 15 hours from now, thereabouts. So tomorrow night, my time. Because I am. But in the meantime, I'm probably not going to do much. But I'm going to be continuing on the commissioner. If you think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think that's a good point there. In that, it is definitely a permanent piece that I hadn't really given too much thought to be honest. But now that you poke at it, I'm like, it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I'll give it a couple extra half turns on the clamp on that one, see what pops up. But yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's all. I am
all right.
feeling I am now going to be falling asleep.
All right. Cool, buddy.
Right,
Thank you for
this is good. The reckoning thing is really
great.
Good.
Okay, great. I'm glad
really
we got there. It's as you saw, it's not as simple as a one-piece thing.
No, it's not. I'm glad you know how to do it, because I'm sitting here thinking I could put in a few bots in and out here, but the entire thing is like,
it's very much process oriented. Like it needs to.
Well, it's how companies should run.
I know, right? Finally, we can implement that.
Yeah.
But once we have this implemented, that we can push really hard for funding for each of those components then, because we have this overall plan and we have a description of how the plan holds together, because that's always the biggest hurdle in any kind of venture, holding the plan together. There's always so many forces trying to pull against it and fight against it, and then
it's nuts, isn't it?
You know, you've also got nature, you know, physics and all those limitations, and then there's markets as well,
unintended consequences as well,
all kinds of things, right? But the reckoner holds it all steady in real time too, so you don't get this weird drift. Now,
like
I think
killer on a yacht, isn't it?
Yeah, when you're digging a hole in the ground, it's sort of not necessary to be real time updated. You can get a progress report. You know,
is it deep?
4 weeks time, you could probably guess how things have gone without hearing. You know, but the reckoner, in the AI space, you just, you know, half a day and you're out of date.
Well, there's something to be said about the increasing complexity of anything, any particular project that you've got requires an increasing consistency in order to
Correct.
To deliver.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's why I see this as possibly the brain of everything. Like this is the key management aspect.
Yeah. Man, if we crack this, we can just leave humanity to get on with it.
Pretty much. Well, that's what we're trying to. That's what we want.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do. Yeah.
Right. Okay,
mate.
I'm going to bed now.
All right. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
I'll send it over
tomorrow night. Yeah. Okay. I'll ping you when I'm online. Yeah.
I'm probably unavailable, but I will do my best.
Don't worry about it. I've got plenty of stuff to get on with.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool, mate.
All right. See you, man.
See you later.